Hello and welcome back to the channel where flavor knows no borders. This is Food Around Me.
Americans love their burgers, pizzas, and hot dogs. But in Australia, they face a reality check. From Vegemite toast so salty it makes you cry, to kangaroo steaks that feel too cute to eat but too fancy to skip.
If you've made it this far, maybe your curiosity isn't average. Maybe you don't just eat to survive, you eat to understand, so don't just scroll away. Drop a thought in the comments, something only you would say. Like this video if it sparked anything inside you. And hit subscribe, not for the algorithm, but for the next question you never knew you needed. Because here, we don't feed the masses, we feed the minds that wonder.
First up is Vegemite toast, Australia's national treasure on a slice of bread. For Aussies, it's the holy breakfast, rich, salty, savory, something they grow up loving. But for Americans, one bite and it's instant. WTF is this? The shock comes from that salty punch, a hint of bitterness, and a yeasty beer-like flavor that feels alien. If you had to choose one dish to symbolize Australia, it wouldn't be kangaroo steak or a fancy seafood platter. It would be the humble, mighty meat pie. At first glance, it looks identical to America's beloved apple pie. Golden crust, handheld size, steaming hot inside. Naturally, an American tourist expects sweetness. But the moment they take a bite, surprise, instead of apples or cherries, they get minced meat, rich gravy, sometimes cheese, peas, or even mashed potato layered inside. Australians eat meat pie everywhere. It's street food you grab from a corner bakery, but also considered a national dish, loaded with cultural pride. There are entire chains dedicated to it, offering wild variations: curry chicken, peppered beef, lamb with rosemary, even kangaroo meat. Here's the shock: in the American imagination, pie equals sweet, apple pie, pumpkin pie, cherry pie. So when they hear meat pie, it feels like a betrayal of language itself. Many American visitors have admitted, "I bought it expecting apple, but when the meat and brown gravy exploded inside, I felt scanned." Yet once they get past that betrayal, most fall deeply in love. Because meat pie is unapologetically delicious: buttery flaky crust, molten savory filling, and the hit of tomato sauce on top. The ultimate comfort combo. Some Aussies even joke, if Australia had a national anthem in food form, it would be a meat pie with tomato sauce. What makes it even more fascinating is its social role. It's not haute cuisine, not fine dining. It's the food of the crowd: workers, students, rugby fans. In the US, hot dogs belong to baseball. In Australia, meat pies are the silent hero of every rugby match. And beneath the crust, there's history. The British brought pies, but Australians made them their own, turning them into a symbol of everyday identity. Something rugged, practical, and proudly down-to-earth. A dish that confuses Americans at first sight, but eventually wins them over completely. Kangaroo steak. At first, it sounds like something straight out of a cartoon. A bouncy, playful marsupial suddenly ending up on a dinner plate. Shocking. But in Australia, kangaroo is not just a national symbol, it's considered a super meat. Lean, protein-packed, low in fat, and even rich in heart-friendly omega-3. For Americans, though, the shock is real. Kangaroos are cute, not cooked. The first time an American tourist sees kangaroo steak on an Aussie menu, the reaction is almost always wide-eyed disbelief. Wait. They eat kangaroo. In the US, iconic animals are untouchable. Imagine suggesting bald eagle steak. National outrage guarantee. But in Australia, kangaroos are everywhere. They breed fast, often overpopulate, and are even considered agricultural pests. Eating kangaroo is both an ecological solution and a culinary tradition. Australians love to grill the steak medium rare, charred on the outside, tender and ruby red inside, often paired with red wine or pepper sauce. Lamington. The name sounds fancy, but this Australian dessert actually began with a kitchen accident. Legend has it that a cook once dropped a piece of sponge cake into a bowl of chocolate, then rolled it in shredded coconut just to keep it from sticking. The result, a national icon was born. On the outside, a lamington looks like a neat little cube, glossy with chocolate and coated in coconut flakes like fresh snow. But the magic is inside. Airy sponge cake that melts into the bittersweet chocolate and creamy coconut, sweet enough to feel nostalgic but never heavy. For Australians, lamington is more than a dessert, it's part of their cultural fabric. You'll find it everywhere: school events, coffee shops, community fundraisers. When Americans first see it, many say, "Oh, it's like a coconut brownie." But once they take a bite, they realize the difference. Brownies are dense and heavy, while lamington is light, refined, a uniquely Australian take on Western sweets. What's more, the lamington has gone global. Variations include strawberry jam, whipped cream, even gourmet versions in fine dining restaurants. It's celebrated on National Lamington Day, proving that this humble little cube of cake carries not just flavor, but history and national pride. Barramundi. The name sounds exotic, but in Australia, it's a national treasure. This fish, found in both fresh and salt water, is often called Asian sea bass. Yet in Australia, barramundi holds a special place on the table. What makes it stand out is the flesh, firm, white, and almost bone-free. It has a clean, delicate flavor, not too fishy like river fish, and not overly oily like salmon. Australians love to grill it whole over hot coals, crisping the skin while keeping the flesh moist, or pan-sear it with a touch of butter and lemon for a dish that's both rustic and elegant. When Americans first taste barramundi, many nod in surprise. Wow, this is even better than salmon. Salmon, while popular, can feel heavy. Barramundi, on the other hand, offers balance and purity. No wonder high-end chefs in the US are now adding it to their menus as a kind of healthy luxury. Nutritious, sustainable, and refreshingly different. Fairy bread, Australia's childhood classic. Just plain white bread, a spread of butter, and a shower of rainbow sprinkles, that's it. Simple, sweet, and deeply nostalgic. No Aussie kid's birthday party feels complete without it. Americans might laugh and say, "That's so low effort." But for Australians, those colorful sprinkles taste like childhood itself. If fairy bread is childhood, then Tim Tam is Australia's chocolate lover, a small biscuit, coated in smooth chocolate, with a creamy filling in the middle. Simple, yes, but Australians treat Tim Tam like a national treasure, selling tens of millions of packs every year. The real magic, though, is in the ritual called the Tim Tam Slam. It's not just eating a cookie, it's an experience. You bite off one corner here, another corner there, and then use the Tim Tam as a straw for your hot coffee or cocoa. Within seconds, the chocolate starts melting, the cream softens, and the biscuit turns into the sweetest straw on earth. Right before it collapses in your hand, you slam it into your mouth. Boom! A rush of chocolate, cream, and coffee all exploding together. It's instant addiction. They're used to big chunky cookies or oversized donuts, but this tiny little biscuit, it completely takes over. Some even admit, I'd fly back to Australia just to have another Tim Tam Slam every morning. Who says a burger needs beef to feel like a real burger? In Australia, there's a delicious twist. The vegan beet burger, colorful, healthy, and surprisingly satisfying. Picture this: a thick, round patty, bright red like a medium rare steak, but made entirely from roasted beets, chickpeas, and oats. The first bite gives you a crispy crunch on the outside. Then the earthy sweetness of beetroot blends with the nutty creaminess of chickpeas, finished with a gentle smokiness from the grill. Americans who try it, stunned, they're used to burgers overflowing with meat and cheese. But this beet burger, it's flavorful, filling, and light on guilt. Some even admit, this is the burger that convinced me vegan food can be just as sexy as fast food. The best part, it's easy to make. Roast the beets, mash them with chickpeas and spices, shape into patties, then pan-fry or grill. Add fresh greens, a juicy tomato slice, and vegan mayo, and you've got a burger that looks gorgeous and tastes even better. Vivid in color, rich in taste. That's why the vegan beet burger is celebrated as a modern vegan icon in Australia, winning over even die-hard meat lovers. If you had to pick one cookie that's both sweet and full of history, Australians would point to the ANZAC biscuit. At first glance, it's just a snack, but in truth, it carries the memory of a world war. The recipe is simple: rolled oats, flour, shredded coconut, butter, sugar, and a golden syrup that gives it a warm, caramel-like flavor. Once baked, the cookies turn golden brown, crisp on the outside yet slightly chewy inside, with a comforting sweetness perfect for an afternoon tea. But the real story lies here. These were the biscuits baked by wives and mothers in Australia and New Zealand, then shipped across the seas to their soldiers in battle. Because the recipe contains no eggs and keeps well for weeks, it became the field fuel of the Anzac troops. Every bite was more than food. It was a taste of home, or reminder of love waiting far away. At first glance, it looks just like a spring roll. The Chinese have spring rolls, the Vietnamese have cha gio, and Australia, they've got the Chico roll, but trust me, this is no copycat snack, it's a street food icon in its own right. The story began in the 1950s. An Australian man named Frank McEncroe, after seeing a Chinese food stand selling spring rolls, thought, why not create a bigger, heartier version, something you could eat at the football game? And that's how the Chico roll was born. Crispy golden pastry on the outside, with that satisfying crunch when you bite in, but the filling, instead of seafood or delicate vegetables, it's packed with beef, cabbage, celery, carrot, onion, and a blend of spices. The taste is bold, savory, and seriously filling, a far cry from the lighter Asian rolls. What makes it fascinating is that Chico roll was never meant to be fine dining. It was designed for stadiums, fairs, and food trucks, fast, fun, and portable. Australians grabbed one while watching football, at horse races, or just walking down the street. By the 1960s and 70s, it became a cultural staple, with millions consumed every year. Today, some call it outdated, a relic of the past. But others see it as retro charm, a nostalgic reminder of Australia's food culture in its golden age. And for visitors, biting into a Chico roll is more than eating a snack, it's tasting a piece of Australian history, where East meets West and somehow becomes uniquely Aussie.